Hi everyone, welcome to Little Wicket Railway. I'm Rob and we're at Key Model World Live 2025 at the NEC in Birmingham. So it launched for the first time last year. I made a video about that and we're back again this year, and behind me you can see this year's centerpiece. It's the one-to-one replica of a Supermarine Spitfire. There's loads of other stuff to see this year, not just model railways. There is quite a bit of model railways and we'll be taking a look at that, but they've also got remote controlled trucks, they've got scale electrics, they've got military modelling, they've got planes, so something for everyone. Let's go take a look around, see what we can see and see who we can talk to. Behind me we've got Pete Waterman's Making Tracks layout. This is the one I filmed at the Great Electric Train Show not so long ago, featuring Watford Junction, but since then it's definitely got bigger, so I'll try and get some shots of what they've added to it. And whilst I was filming, Pete Waterman himself came over to talk me through all the new additions.
Since the Great Electric Train Show, we've added all these flats. In fact, these weren't finished till last night at 9 o'clock, so this little section here, there's 9 weeks work in those 3 flats. There is 1,000 parts in those 2 flats. They're a part of one block. So I mean, there's a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work. I mean, they're so accurate because we've added 8 feet here. So this whole section here is brand new. It wasn't on the layout last year. If you remember, the bridge went to nowhere last year. Yeah. So we hadn't got time to do that. So that's now pretty scale up to here, between there and the station and here. I do love the scenery, and it's my passion, I guess. It's all the years I was going to Pendon, you know, and seeing what Roy and the guys did at Pendon. Always, to me, it was the railway wasn't the important part. It was the backdrop, because obviously people like Guy Williams at that time making engines were way beyond my skills. So it was great seeing fabulous trains, but in the scenery, it's like, you know, the Scottish layout over there, it's fantastic. I mean, you know, I'm glad that other people are building big layouts now, the same as we did, because that's what I think are going to get kids inspired, you know, because they can see the real thing. They can go to Watford and it looks exactly like this, you know. You've got these huge tower blocks and yet you've got the little original station right at the front there. That's the 1870 station. It's got planning permission to be turned into a wine bar. You know, I mean, I think that's what makes model railways so interesting, that you can do these, you know, modern buildings and then it's right next to something built in 1840. It's like, and even I go up and down twice a week to London. These flats have always fascinated me, and when I was building them I noticed the whole of London now has got flats like this, because of course what they allow you to do is they allow you to open and get fresh air. So they don't, like the old days where a flat was a flat. All flats now have balconies because it's a right of light. So it's interesting that when I built Leamington, I had to cope with the tax on windows, and now I'm having to realise the right for light. It's interesting how model railways teaches you how the environment changes. Yeah. No, they look fantastic. Yeah, and this bit's new over here as well. Yes, we put that in for Christmas. That went in at Blake here. So we knew we could not do it all together at once. It had to be done over 2 sessions. But that's this finished now, so we're on to 5 now. We're halfway through 5, and then we're going to Aberystwyth in October, and we're going to put them all together to test them. So it's not the second week's open to the public, but that's only 208 feet. But for only 208 feet. Next year we're doing 460 feet, and we're going to go from Rugby to Wembley. Where you put here, hopefully. This time next year. Yeah, that's 216 feet that way, 14 feet that way, and 140 feet scale that way. Is that another world record attempt? Yeah, it is, but we're not going for it. I'm not going through that stress again. I'm not going. That's too much stress. So, you know, and that's it. We can't do any more than that. So this year at the Cathedral, it's from Bushy to Wembley Central, which is very different because the buildings are great. So you've got more flats, but coloured flats, so it's brilliant. When are you at the Cathedral? From August, all August. Right, summer holidays. Yes, summer holidays. The whole month. Derby, and we're at Derby for the Great Gathering for the 200.
Oh yeah, I'll be there for that.
Yeah, we're there for that.
The Making Tracks team really are a lovely and talented bunch. It was nice to see their layout coordinator Chris again. He's responsible for getting it all up and running for the show. Having spent the day with him at the Great Electric Train Show, I saw how much of a massive job it was. He was smiling, so it must have all gone pretty well.
How's the setup gone this time?
So it's not without issue, but we're there now. Fingers crossed.
It was great to see more hands-on activities for kids this year. Hornby had a play trains area, Bachmann had a kids zone workshop, and Tamia had RC cars you could have a go at, and there was some pretty wild driving on display. Mission Motorsport had set up their massive Buggleskelly electric circuit and were letting people have a go on that. Much like the RC cars, the standard of driving varied, and they clearly weren't as easy to control as they looked. The big RC trucks were back this year, but this time with the addition of a gigantic crane. Plastic modelers were well represented by various IPMS clubs showing off a range of both military and civilian vehicles. And Airfix were there to promote their range of model kits. Military fans were again treated to a couple of full-size vehicles. A lot of manufacturers used the show as an opportunity to show off their latest models and launch new products. In the world of model railways, the biggest news seemed to be centred around the rapidly growing TT120 scale. Now, you might remember that when TT120 was first launched back in 2022, shortly after the Hornby range was revealed, Helgen made this statement. There's been a lot of focus on TT120 scale this week, and we've obviously been paying close attention to developments. We were gratified to see that our initial trio of locomotive choices for TT was so on the money that all three also appeared in the Hornby range. Such duplication in a new and so far unknown market produces no winners, only losers. We were genuinely excited about the possibilities of this new scale, but in the circumstances and with a heavy heart, we're ceasing development of our TT120 model range. Well, they have seen how it's developed and are clearly impressed because they've decided to get involved again by announcing two new locomotives, a Deltic and a Class 122 bubble car. And this time it feels like a far more positive and collaborative approach with Hornby. Martin Weaver, brand MD at Hornby, was kind enough to bring me up to speed on recent developments in this increasingly popular scale.
Hi, I'm Martin Weaver and welcome to Model World Live 25 here at the NEC and more particularly to the Hornby stand. Got lots to talk about. The first thing, and well, to be fair, probably some of the biggest news of the show is around the scale TT with the announcement earlier this, or a few days ago from Helian, which is very, very exciting, which we'll come back to. But for those who are new to TT, I'm going to give you a very kind of a little bit of a sort of a whistle stop on what it's all about. I think a lot of people probably have heard of it now in the model railway community, but it's been going for 2.5 years since the relaunch. It's been very, very successful. I think it's fair to say, even if I think about the last, say, 12 to 18 months back, a lot of people were saying, oh, is it going to last? Is it something that would be worth investing in? And you've seen more announcements from Hornby this year. And obviously now you've got Helian, you've got Revolution Trains, you've got products coming from Pico. So it is here, and it's small, but it's getting bigger, and it's very, very exciting. So we've actually had some announcements in April as well, which I've got a few things to show you here as well, and hopefully you get some better pictures so you're not seeing them out of my shaky hand. But so we had some announcements in early April, which have gone down extremely, extremely well. We've had a lot of positivity, and they are, firstly, we have the Terrier. Very, very small, very, very difficult to get this to actually get such a great accurate replica model. Very, very kind of, never know what the right word is to use for the Terrier because of its size, but it is kind of really, really cute. It's really, really absolutely lovely loco, and I say really, really positive response to that. And that's going to work on a lot of layouts, especially sort of anything southern region. Obviously, they did travel a bit further than that, but it's going to be great. And the thing, of course, with TT and any model railway is you haven't just got to focus on an era or a particular region. You can do whatever you want. But anyway, to go with the Terrier, we have our four-wheel coaches. Again, look absolutely lovely. So these are development samples. These are what we call our first shots. There's still quite a way to go on these, so when they come out, they won't look silver like this. When TT was launched, there were two train sets. One had an A3 in it, and one had an A4. They're really decent detailed models. But what that meant was that the price of the train set was kind of, circa £200 and thereabouts. And that actually is quite a high amount for an entry into something. So people in model railways will understand that why a model might cost so much. Some people might like it, but they'll understand it because they've seen the detail, they've seen the technology that goes into there. On occasion, they've had to take them apart to put the coders in, but there's just general understanding of it. But for new people coming into something, which is a key thing for TT, is that's quite expensive. So I'm not sure if I'm even going to like this, and I've got to pay £200 up front. And that, in some ways, is a bit of a barrier. And one of the things we realise is that we need to kind of find a way to knock down that barrier, because we're confident that once people are in, they're going to really enjoy it and have a good time, like everyone else in this room and many of the people, if not all the people that will follow this channel. So what we did is we need to find a cheaper train set. So we have designed and tooled a little B4, which is a very accurate model of it. There are some very, very minor compromises versus it, but what it means is it can actually be produced at a much lower price. And then to go with it, we also simplified a couple of wagons, just a simple box and a vent. And what it's meant is that we can actually get a train set to the market for £100, which is great, or $99.99 to be specific. And that'll be coming out towards the back end of this year. And it just means for those people that kind of just want to give it a go and a test, and they're not really sure yet, they can kind of do it and not have a huge commitment. So again, interestingly, that train set was really created for new people. But the response that we've had in the existing community has been really, really positive as well, because everyone just wants more stuff, which is just as well, because we've got now a tool bank of different things. So, for example, our HST, which we've done 3 releases on so far, and part of the new announcement, we have GNR and Virgin, and a suite of Mark III coaches to go with it. Then we have another livery on our Class 50, which is Defiance. Now this actually has appeared a few places before, so this might not be 100% new news to some people, because I think it's been on and off our website, but anyway, it's here now and it's coming. And then finally, not always about things with wheels, but the other really important stuff that it goes on, we have our Y-point. So again, when we launch with a whole suite of track. There is other track also available from Pico, so there's actually quite an extensive amount of geometry for anyone that's going to come into it. But we didn't have a Y-point, so we now have this, and we also have the 6th radius park curves that go with it, which would send it straight as well. So it's basically wiring out into 2 to go around a platform, or to run two trains lines parallel. So whilst it just seems like a point, for anyone that knows or is into building model railways will know how kind of quite key and important that is. Now on to the exciting news from Helion that came out this week. It's very strange to actually potentially say it's great that a competitor has bought out a product because they're a competitor, but it's not really like that in this situation at all. In actual fact, it's very unique and different, because we are forever getting asked for more and more TT things. When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? And we can only produce a certain amount of things at a certain amount of time. And another manufacturer coming on board and obviously has the confidence and have created not only 2 great choices of models, but 2 great models as well, which if you go and look at them later, which I'm sure you will watch at the show, they look absolutely amazing. And it's going to work really, really well, and it's just going to help everything along the journey of TT. So it's a really, really, really positive thing.
So 3 years in, and TT 120 seems to be doing very well. Let me know your thoughts on the scale down in the comments. And sticking with TT 120 just a little bit longer, Simon Kohler, Mr. Hornby himself, was at the show to promote his new book all about the TT 120 scale.
I'm here on the key stand today, promoting my book on Hornby TT, and it really tells a story of how a product or the idea started best part of 50 years ago, and how it remained with me, the idea, until it was really right to bring it to the market. And to be honest, 2-3 years ago, it was exactly the right time. Fair amount of criticism when we introduced it. Do we need it? Who's going to buy it? I am pleased to say now that a huge number of people are now TT 120 modelers. Many, I believe, are new into the hobby, and they're into the hobby because it's a scale that is ideal for houses that are built today. Not everybody lives in a mansion, so it's an ideal size. You can get a decent layout, and I mean a decent layout, on a 6x4 board, if not smaller. And one of the beauties, of course, with TT and its scale is that you can run full-length trains. So if you want to run a 12-car HST, you can do, and it won't look odd, because you've got the space to run those trains. Well, the book is either online from Key Publishing, or I believe they will be circulating it through their stockists.
I picked up my signed copy and I'm really looking forward to reading it. But now let's move on to 00 scale, and there were plenty of new products to see. Here's Martin to explain more about Hornby's most recent announcements.
This week we also announced a few 00 models as well. So we had an unannounced announcement where we didn't kind of do any teasing, we just came out there with it just to keep things interesting, I suppose, which was 4 A4s of the Silver Link series to commemorate the anniversary, and also with it being with the VE Day celebrations coming up, we thought we'd do a series of locos in wartime blacks. We've got 4 of the kind of arguably some of the most significant locos of their time, of how they carried it during the wartime period, and then also some of our salmon wagons. So it was basically an announcement of a livery on the salmon wagons, which is new tooling. I think the first 4 are due with us very, very soon. So the next couple of months you'll see the first. And the wave that we announced this week was essentially the other liveries, which also featured the crane on them that you didn't have. So lots of exciting things coming through.
They also had the Flirt on display alongside some of their other recent releases. Accurascale had lots to show, including Class 89s, Class 50s and Class 37s. For steam fans, the soon-to-be released pannier tanks and the Hunslet Austerity saddle tanks were all lined up. The CEI cement bubble wagons were on display and they're due at the end of this year. There were also some prototypes out, and the amount of detail even at this stage of production is incredibly impressive. Bachmann had one of the larger stands, and here's brand manager Richard Proudman to talk us through the most recent announcements.
Hi, Richard here from Bachmann. We're at Model World Live at the NEC Birmingham, the National Modelling Exhibition, and amongst our vast displays we've got some of our new items. The recently announced brand new Class 66 from Bachmann branch line. We've got the Class 69s, which are arriving later this year as well, with some refinements that have been made to those models following feedback from our customers. We've got our wonderful LNWR coaches, which will be hitting shops in the next few weeks, along with the brand new LMS 20-ton brake bands that we announced just last month. At the same time, we announced the Isle of Wight coaches as well from EFE Rail, all in 00 scale. We've got some more models from our EFE Rail brand, the T3 steam locomotive, and the Class 74 electro diesel, which will all be arriving later this year. And then down here we've got our stunning new 08, which is going to be in the shops in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So lots for people to see here, and lots going on at Bachmann.
Rapido had lots of new products. Particularly interesting was Ivor the engine, and they've done a really good job of turning a 2D cartoon into a 3D model. And there were loads of other models to look at. A range of Engage diesels, a Caledonian Railway single-wheeler, the Midland Railway 483, and the second round of Evolution coaches, which look absolutely stunning. The model that I'm really excited about though is the County class, and they had a sample of that as well. Revolution had some flat-troll nuclear flask carriers and a Vale of Riddle locomotive on display, alongside some samples of a Class 175 and a Class 180. Ellis Clark had their impressive O-Gauge Black 5 and their brand new Quad Arc coaches out to sea, and these look absolutely beautiful. So plenty of new products, but there was also a healthy dose of nostalgia in the form of Triang, Dinky and Thunderbirds. There were also plenty of opportunities to spend money. The big retailers were there, such as Rails of Sheffield, showing off some of their exclusive Rails models, but I'd like to focus on a few smaller traders who you may not be as familiar with, starting with Petite Properties. It's a family-run business and they're absolutely lovely people. They offer incredible laser cut kits in a wide range of scales, all designed and manufactured in-house, beautiful models and very reasonably priced. Coventry Railworks were there, and it was great to have a catch up with Will and hear how he's developing a range of 3D printed wagon kits. Currently an Engage, but with big plans for the future. Tom from Buggleskelly Station was there with his iconic windmills whizzing round and his TV and film inspired rolling stock. He's also organising Will Hay Day again at the Great Central Railway on the 14th of June, so be sure to check that out. Model U was 3D scanning people and had their incredibly detailed 3D prints available to buy. They were also giving out special edition 3D prints of Simon Kohler in TT120 scale, and I think it's very appropriate that my very first ever TT120 scale model is of Simon, and it's slightly ironic that the reason the print is a bit damaged is because it was crushed by Simon's book. Dan Eversons from Tunnel Lane Model Railways was demonstrating his figure painting skills, and being a man of many talents, he'd also built an automated slot car layout complete with commentary audio. I'll put links to all these brilliant businesses down in the video description. Please go check them out. They're all super friendly and incredibly talented people. And catching up with people is by far the best part of these shows. Thank you to everyone that came over and chatted. It was great to spend time with lots of fellow YouTubers too, which is a little community within a community. And thank you to all the people and clubs that put on displays or brought along layouts. The ground level 5-inch gauge Mainline Association were there with some big locos. Beggarwood Lane is a brilliant layout and one I particularly enjoyed, so that's one to check out if you get the chance. The trees alone on Tellindalloch are something to be marvelled at. The LEGO UK railway layout was spectacular with their LEGO Forth rail bridge. The massive Dore Hill St Stephen's has a whopping 22 baseboards and a really interesting track arrangement. One of my favourites to watch was the Borth and Aberdovey Ynyslas miniature railway with the seaside theme and cutaway building. Overall, Key Model World Live was a really great show, and well done to the team for putting it on. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Special thanks to all the YouTube members and patrons for your support, it's very much appreciated. That's it for this video, thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you again soon.